A lot of this is just getting some guys ready who are playing on Saturday.
Shedeur has to overwin. Shedeur has to not only win these battles, she has to do it in a way where he's above reproach. I think he did it in 3 ways. I think he acclimated himself well with his teammate.
News there as well. Shedeur Sanders returned to practice today from his oblique strain suffered last week, and it looks to me like he's got a pretty decent shot of playing some against the Rams on Saturday in that dress rehearsal game. I think they really want to see him one more time. He had that really nice debut against the Panthers, and I think they want to get him out there and get him a little bit more live action before he potentially has to play at some point this season.
I'll tell you this. Now, he took too many sacks, and I'll put that on him. I'll put that on him in the system, and he's got to be better. But he's deadly accurate. He's got great touch. And when you watch him in that first preseason game, the thing that I loved, and I mean loved, is his ability to slide and his movement skills in the pocket and still being able to create space, not eyeballing the rush, but feeling the rush.
Last year?
Yeah, Watson.
Yeah. What year is this?
Wrong move. I think you should have looked at one of these rookies to see if you had your franchise quarterback in the building, whether it's Shedeur Sanders or Dillon Gabriel, who I felt both had good debuts here in the preseason. You know what Joe Flacco is. Don't make the comfortable, familiar decision. Figure out if one man that you drafted in the 3rd or the 5th round could be the guy.
You won't believe what just happened at Browns practice today. Shedeur Sanders, the rookie quarterback who's been sidelined with an oblique injury, just threw a pass so perfect, so absolutely flawless, that it has everyone questioning whether the Browns are making the biggest mistake of the season by not starting him. I'm talking about a throw that had coaches stopping mid-conversation, teammates shaking their heads in disbelief, and analysts already calling it the throw of the preseason. But here's the kicker. This might be the last chance Sanders gets to prove he deserves to be more than just a backup. Stick around, because what I'm about to show you could change everything you think you know about the Browns quarterback situation. What's up, football fans? Today we're diving deep into one of the most intriguing quarterback battles brewing in Cleveland right now. Shedeur Sanders is back. He's healthy. And he just delivered a performance that has everyone from beat reporters to former NFL players questioning Kevin Stefanski's decision-making. We're going to break down exactly what happened during today's practice, analyze the incredible throw that has everyone talking, examine what this means for the Browns' quarterback depth chart, and discuss why some analysts believe the Browns might be making a franchise-altering mistake. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this single practice session might be the most important moment in Sanders' young NFL career. Let's get into it. Let me paint you a picture of what resilience looks like in the NFL. Just 1 week ago, Shedeur Sanders was on the sidelines, watching his teammates prepare for battle while nursing an oblique strain that threatened to derail his momentum. For a rookie quarterback trying to make his mark in one of the most competitive positions in professional sports, missing practice time isn't just frustrating, it's potentially career-defining. But here's what separates the great ones from the rest: how they respond to adversity. Sanders didn't just return to practice today, he returned with a vengeance. From the moment he stepped onto the field, you could see something different in his demeanor. This wasn't the cautious, tentative approach of a player testing his injury. This was a quarterback with something to prove, someone who understood that every snap, every throw, every decision was being scrutinized by coaches who are still finalizing their depth chart. The fascinating thing about Sanders' situation is the pressure he's under. Unlike established veterans who have the luxury of working their way back slowly, Sanders is fighting for relevance in a quarterback room that includes Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl champion with decades of experience. Every practice rep matters, and missing time due to injury only amplifies that pressure. But if you watched Sanders today, you wouldn't have known he'd missed a single day. His warm-up routine was crisp and purposeful. The footwork that had impressed coaches during his debut against the Panthers was back in full display. But more importantly, his arm strength appeared completely unaffected by the oblique strain. For those who don't know, oblique injuries can be particularly tricky for quarterbacks because they affect the core rotation that's essential for generating power and accuracy on throws. The fact that Sanders showed no hesitation, no visible compensation in his throwing motion, speaks volumes about both his physical recovery and his mental toughness. What struck me most about Sanders' return was his leadership presence. Despite being a rookie, despite missing time, he carried himself with the confidence of a veteran. He was vocal during drills, encouraging teammates, and most importantly, he was taking command of the huddle in a way that suggested he wasn't just happy to be back, he was ready to compete for a starting role. Kevin Stefanski has been characteristically tight-lipped about Sanders' status, but his decision to get the rookie back into full practice immediately suggests they have big plans for him in Saturday's preseason finale against the Rams. This isn't just about getting Sanders some reps, this is about evaluation. The coaching staff wants to see if Sanders can build on his impressive debut performance and prove that he's ready for a more significant role in the regular season. The timing couldn't be more critical. With questions swirling about the long-term viability of their current quarterback situation, Sanders' return represents more than just a player getting healthy. It represents opportunity knocking at the door of a franchise that desperately needs to find its quarterback of the future. Now let me tell you about the throw that has everyone talking, the one that might have just changed the entire trajectory of Sanders' career. Picture this. It's a routine practice drill, nothing fancy, just quarterbacks working through their progressions with receivers running standard routes. But what happened next was anything but routine. Sanders took the snap from the shotgun formation, and immediately you could see his eyes scanning the field with the kind of patience and poise that usually takes years to develop. The pocket began to collapse slightly, not unusual in practice situations, but instead of panicking or forcing a throw, Sanders did something that separated him from every other quarterback on that field. He subtly shifted his weight, created just enough space with a minimal slide step, and then delivered what can only be described as a perfect strike. The ball left his hand with a tight spiral, traveling approximately 25 yards downfield to a receiver who was running a comeback route along the sideline. But here's what made this throw special. It wasn't just accurate, it was placed with surgical precision. The ball arrived at exactly the right height, with perfect timing, and positioned in such a way that only his receiver could make the catch. The defensive back covering the play was in a good position, but Sanders had threaded the needle with such accuracy that it didn't matter. Former NFL quarterback Mark Schlereth, who was watching practice, immediately recognized the significance of what he'd just witnessed. In his podcast later that day, Schlereth broke down the throw in detail, praising not just the accuracy but the decision-making process that led to it. "That's not a throw you teach," Schlereth explained. "That's instinct combined with elite arm talent. The way he felt the pressure, created space, and still maintained his accuracy, that's what separates good quarterbacks from great ones." What made this throw even more impressive was the context. This wasn't Sanders trying to show off or force a spectacular play. This was a quarterback making the right read, at the right time, with the right touch. The throw demonstrated several key qualities that NFL coaches covet: pocket presence, accuracy under pressure, and the ability to make tight window throws that move the chains in crucial situations. But perhaps most importantly, this throw showcased Sanders' arm strength and accuracy combination. The oblique injury that had sidelined him could have affected his ability to generate power from his core, but there was no evidence of any limitation. The ball came out of his hand with authority, suggesting that he's not just healthy, he's potentially better than he was before the injury. The reaction from teammates was immediate and telling. You could see receivers nodding in approval, offensive linemen pointing and talking excitedly, and even defensive players acknowledging the quality of the throw. In the NFL, respect is earned through performance, and with one perfect spiral, Sanders had earned the respect of everyone on that practice field. This wasn't just a good throw, this was a statement. A declaration that Shedeur Sanders isn't content to be a developmental project or a clipboard holder. This was a quarterback announcing that he's ready to compete at the highest level, right now. Kevin Stefanski finds himself in one of the most challenging positions a head coach can face, choosing between the safe, proven option and the potentially transformative unknown. On one side, you have Joe Flacco, a Super Bowl champion with over a decade of NFL experience, a quarterback who knows how to manage games and won't lose you contests with poor decisions. On the other side, you have Shedeur Sanders, a rookie with elite physical tools, impressive poise, and the potential to be a franchise-changing player. The complexity of this decision goes far beyond just evaluating talent. Stefanski is coaching for his job, managing a franchise that hasn't had consistent quarterback play in years, and trying to balance the immediate needs of winning games with the long-term vision of building a sustainable contender. It's the kind of decision that can define a coach's legacy, and Stefanski knows it. What makes this situation even more intriguing is Stefanski's recent comments, or lack thereof, about the quarterback depth chart. When pressed by reporters about who'll back up Flacco, Stefanski's response was deliberately vague. "We'll make that call in a couple of days." For a coach who's typically more forthcoming about personnel decisions, this non-answer speaks volumes. It suggests that the competition is closer than many people realize and that Sanders' performance in practice and the upcoming preseason game could genuinely influence the final decision. The pressure on Stefanski is immense, and it comes from multiple directions. Ownership wants to see progress and development of young talent. Fans are eager for excitement and hope for the future. The media is scrutinizing every decision, looking for signs of whether the Browns are truly committed to building something special or just trying to survive another season. And within the organization, there are likely differing opinions about the best path forward. From a strategic standpoint, starting Flacco makes sense for immediate stability. He's not going to make rookie mistakes, he understands complex defensive schemes, and he can manage the game effectively. But there's also a ceiling with Flacco. Everyone knows what he is at this stage of his career. He's not going to suddenly develop into an elite quarterback, and he's not the long-term answer for a franchise trying to build a championship contender. Sanders represents the opposite equation, higher risk, but potentially transformational reward. Yes, he might make rookie mistakes. Yes, there will be growing pains and learning moments that could cost games. But he also brings the possibility of explosive plays, dynamic leadership, and the kind of quarterback play that can elevate an entire franchise. The most telling aspect of Stefanski's approach has been his patience with Sanders' development. Rather than rushing him back from injury or throwing him into situations he's not ready for, Stefanski has been methodical and careful. This suggests that he sees real potential in Sanders and wants to maximize the chances for success when the opportunity comes. The decision Stefanski makes in the coming days won't just affect this season, it could determine the trajectory of the Browns franchise for the next decade. That's the weight he's carrying as he evaluates every throw, every decision, and every moment of leadership that Sanders displays. The NFL is a league where expert opinions carry significant weight, and when former players and analysts start taking notice of a rookie quarterback, it's worth paying attention. The buzz around Shedeur Sanders isn't just coming from hopeful fans or local media, it's coming from people who've played the position at the highest level and understand what it takes to succeed in the NFL. Mark Schlerett's analysis of Sanders has been particularly insightful and telling. As a former NFL player who's now one of the most respected voices in football media, Schlerett doesn't throw around praise lightly. His breakdown of Sanders' pocket presence and movement skills reveals something that many casual observers might miss, the intangible qualities that separate good quarterbacks from great ones. The thing that I loved, and I mean loved, is his ability to slide and his movement skills in the pocket, Schlerett explained during his recent podcast. This isn't just about athleticism, it's about football intelligence. The ability to feel pressure without seeing it, to create space without panicking, and to maintain accuracy while under duress are skills that typically take years to develop. The fact that Sanders is displaying these qualities as a rookie suggests an advanced understanding of the position that goes beyond his physical tools. But Schlerett also provided balanced analysis, noting areas where Sanders needs improvement. He took too many sacks, Schler had acknowledged, and I'll put that on him. This kind of honest evaluation is valuable because it shows that experts aren't just caught up in rookie hype, they're providing genuine assessments of both strengths and weaknesses. Ryan Clark, another former NFL player turned analyst, has been even more direct in his assessment of the Browns' quarterback situation. Clark's argument that the Browns should be looking at Sanders and Dillon Gabriel as potential long-term solutions rather than relying on Flacco's experience reflects a broader philosophical debate in the NFL. Do you prioritize short-term stability or long-term potential? Clark's perspective is particularly relevant because he's not just analyzing Sanders in isolation, he's evaluating him within the context of franchise building. You know what Joe Flacco is, Clark pointed out. Don't make the comfortable, familiar decision. Figure out if one of these young men that you drafted could be the guy. This sentiment reflects a growing belief among analysts that the Browns might be playing it too safe at the most important position on the field. The expert consensus seems to be forming around several key points. Sanders has elite physical tools, advanced pocket presence for a rookie, and the kind of competitive drive that translates to success at the NFL level. However, he also needs more experience, better decision-making in pressure situations, and continued development of his pre-snap reads and adjustments. What's particularly encouraging from an expert perspective is Sanders' coachability and work ethic. Multiple analysts have noted his preparation, his attention to detail, and his willingness to learn from mistakes. These intangible qualities often matter more than raw talent when it comes to long-term NFL success. The growing expert support for Sanders isn't just about his current ability, it's about his trajectory and potential for growth. The decision facing the Cleveland Browns isn't just about who starts at quarterback this season, it's about the fundamental direction of the franchise for the next decade. In the NFL, quarterback decisions have a way of defining entire eras, and the choice between Joe Flacco's experience and Shedeur Sanders' potential could be the most consequential decision the Browns make in years. Let's consider what's really at stake here. The Browns have been searching for their franchise quarterback for over 2 decades. They've cycled through countless options, from high draft picks to veteran acquisitions, from developmental projects to proven commodities. None have provided the long-term stability and excellence that championship teams require. Sanders represents something different, not just another attempt to find the answer, but potentially the answer itself. The financial implications alone are staggering. Franchise quarterbacks in today's NFL command contracts worth hundreds of millions of dollars. If Sanders develops into that caliber of player, the Browns would have found elite quarterback play at a fraction of the typical cost, freeing up resources to build a championship-caliber roster around him. Conversely, if they pass on Sanders and he develops elsewhere, they could be looking at years of continued searching and the massive financial commitments that come with acquiring established quarterback talent. But the stakes extend beyond just financial considerations. The Browns have a talented roster with playmakers on both sides of the ball. They have a strong running game, reliable receivers, and a defense that can compete with anyone in the league. What they've lacked is the quarterback play that can elevate all of these pieces into a championship contender. Sanders could be the missing piece that transforms a good team into a great one. The timing is also crucial. The Browns' championship window with their current core of players won't stay open indefinitely. Key players are aging, contracts are expiring, and the competitive landscape of the NFL is constantly shifting. If Sanders is going to be their long-term answer, the sooner they commit to his development, the better position they'll be to maximize their championship opportunities. There's also the psychological and cultural impact to consider. Cleveland fans have endured decades of disappointment and false hope. Finding their franchise quarterback would represent more than just improved on-field performance. It would signal a fundamental shift in the organization's trajectory and provide the kind of hope and excitement that can energize an entire fan base. The risk, of course, is significant. Starting a rookie quarterback means accepting growing pains, potential setbacks, and the possibility that Sanders might not develop as expected. But the alternative, Continuing to cycle through short-term solutions while hoping for a different outcome carries its own risks and limitations. Kevin Stefanski and the Browns front office understand that this decision will likely define their tenure with the organization. Get it right, and they could be remembered as the group that finally found Cleveland's franchise quarterback. Get it wrong, and they could be looking for new jobs while Sanders develops into a star elsewhere. The stakes couldn't be higher, and the decision couldn't be more important. So here's where we stand. Shedeur Sanders has returned from injury looking better than ever, delivered a throw that has experts questioning the Browns' quarterback hierarchy, and created a genuine dilemma for Kevin Stefanski and the coaching staff. The evidence is mounting that Sanders isn't just a developmental project. He might be ready to contribute right now, and more importantly, he might be the franchise quarterback Cleveland has been searching for. The upcoming preseason game against the Rams isn't just another exhibition. It's Sanders' audition for a role that could define the next decade of Browns football. Will Stefanski have the courage to embrace the future, or will he stick with the safe, familiar choice? The decision he makes could be the difference between another season of mediocrity and the beginning of something truly special in Cleveland.